So, in honor of our two South Africans fighting on the UFC 290 card, I thought it'd be a good idea for us to do a top 5 South African fighters of all time. So this is our weekly top 5. So, Mike, as you are our guest, please would you do us the honor of going first?
Okay, cool. We're putting him on the spot. Okay, so I think it's semi-current and current.
Mm-hmm.
So number 5, I'd put Soulja Boy.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was dominant in the UFC, in the EFC. Had a couple of tough fights in the UFC. Really was a good ambassador for South African MMA. Number 4, I'd put Iga Kabesa. I think he's really he's a phenomenal talent. He's beaten international guys, made them look ordinary, been a multiple-time EFC champ. So he's definitely number 4. Number 3, Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
I think fighting the UFC, flying the flag high for South Africa, talented youngster, next generation. I think he's going to be amazing. Number 2, I put Don Madge. I think, super talented everywhere. Great striker, good grappler, good ground and pound. He's fought internationally, been a champ locally. I think definitely number 2. And then number 1 would be Dricus, based on everything he's achieved so far.
Mm-hmm.
And still going to achieve after this week and maybe the next UFC.
Yeah, 100%. Hopefully the next UFC middleweight champion of the world. Thanks, Mike. That was an awesome top 5. As I was saying, I think we're going to have a few differences. Maybe we'll have some 2 similarities and two differences. But I agree definitely with everybody on that top 5, actually, because now that we come to think of it, there's actually, we've all got 5, but I've got a few honorable mentions. But actually now, especially like you said, being current, there's a lot of good South African fighters and there's a lot to choose from. So, Jack, what's your top 5?
So my top 5 is also current fighters, but I'd say number 5, that is Nkosi Ndebele. I think that he has some just really amazing fights to watch. I know he's only 23rd in the UAE right now. So he's not that highly ranked, but it's just such a pleasure and always so exciting to watch his fights.
He's a good fighter.
Yeah. And then for number 4, I have Don Madge. I think that also, he's great all around. Also just such a great fight to watch. I don't know when he's going to come back, but yeah, hopefully soon.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 3, I have Cameron. So Cameron Saaiman. I think he's also just such a cool prospect, and it's it's quite awesome to see someone younger than me, also from Pretoria, doing so well in the UFC. And I hope he goes far. I can see him go very far. And then I have Bokang at number 2, so BK. I couldn't not. He's just so cool that he's a South African. And I think that he'll be the first brave champion at South African.
One.
No, first one champion.
Yeah, one champion.
Yeah, BK is unreal.
Yeah,
he's really unreal.
Yeah.
Top talent. Yeah, especially with his given his background and what he came from to be here. Yeah, definitely. And then number 1.
And then number 1, I have Dricus, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Just what he's achieved, where he can go. The crest of his career. It feels like it's only starting now, and that's just an incredible thing to even think about, because he's already achieved so much.
Yeah.
No,
awesome. I've maybe cheated, so maybe. So what I've done is I thought, just to spice things up, I would do a top 5 without Dricus. Okay. Also, mainly because I had 6 people on this list and I don't want to leave somebody out, but Dricus is number 1, but this is my list without Dricus. So in at number 5, I've gone for Chris Bright. So Chris, I met years and years ago, and back then he was sort of like the standard, particularly at lightweight. You also factor in you take into account that I think he was 28-4 in his total career, and I think he's lost once at lightweight. I stand to be corrected, and 3 losses all came at welterweight.
I'm not 100% sure, but yeah.
Yeah, so it's that, but also, what he did at the time, he's always been trying to do the unified rules in South Africa. He's always been trying to put events together, whether that's grappling or whether that's MMA. So got to have Chris Bright on there. In at number 4, I've actually gone for Rico. I think Rico is one of the most dominant heavyweight champions we've ever had in South Africa, even to this day. I think he's unlucky because he was in a time where there wasn't that many opportunities for South Africans to go to the US. He did end up going to the US, didn't go his way. But if you look at the fact that somebody like Trevor Prangley was top 5 or top 10 in the UFC, I've got BK at number 3. I think he's just been dominant in South Africa, and he was fighting a weight class up to what he fights now. I think he should be fighting Jared Brooks next. I don't know if that fight is going to happen or not, but I mean, it's a race between him and Dricus for now, and possibly throw in Don there. Who's going to be the first winner of a major title or in a major organization? I think BK's got all the tools. He's made all the improvements, and his story is so impressive. I think his story and his rise is just as impressive, as any sportsman, including even Siya Kolisi, in my opinion. So BK's got to be there. Number 1 and 2 has been tough for me, but I had to pick somebody to be number 1. I had to pick somebody to be number 2. I've gone for Don Madge in at number 2. Don has always had all the tools to be a champion internationally. He was the youngest EFC champion when he became champion. He's also never really been dominated in a fight from what I've seen. His losses have been either, when he was very young and jumping into the deep end, or more recently when he got clipped. And he's also, even though he's not in the UFC anymore, he's also one of the 3 or 4 South Africans with 2 wins in the UFC, dominant wins in the UFC, even breaking his hand in the one fight. I do still expect Don Madge, whether it's in PFL or whether he goes to another organization, I do still fully expect Don Madge to be a champion in a major organization. I know he's had a few injury issues here and there, but there's still a lot left for Don to prove. There's still a lot left for Don to do. Definitely think he's going to be a champion in a major organization. And then at number 1, I've gone for Cameron Saaiman, only because everything that we've just said, Don's done. So the UFC record for the youngest champion, Cameron Saaiman, did that. Cameron Saiman's also got 2 wins in the UFC. If you include the Contender Series, it is 3rd win. He doesn't, but it's still a win overseas. But I really think, Dricus' time is right now, and everybody is behind Dricus, including that team. But I think Cameron Saiman's going to slowly climb up, as we said earlier, and he's no doubt in my mind a future bantamweight champion in the UFC. I think it's only a matter of time, and his time is next. So it's Dricus' time. Dricus is going to be a dominant champion, we're hoping. And then Cameron Saiman's going to come up as Dricus become champion, climb those steps, and he's my number 1, excluding Dricus du Plessis. So
I like your list. You've gone for the older guys. That's the only reason why I didn't mention too many older guys. I think the level of competition now, and to do well in the level of competition now versus back in the day, is unreal. I think there's a massive discrepancy in terms of the level of competition. I think a lot more guys are much better on average, and a lot of our guys didn't get the opportunity to prove themselves internationally. It was very difficult for guys to get a good measure of themselves because there wasn't a lot of international guys coming down here, or us being able to go up and fight in Pride or UFC, all those events that were happening. So I think that's why I kind of didn't mention the old guys, but I like your list a lot.
Thank you very much.
Especially because Chris and Rico both fought on our events, which is quite cool, the APFC events.
Oh, nice.
So seeing the guys do some damage in those events was really cool.
I had to have them in there. I mean, they just from what I saw at the time, there was no one that came close to them in their weight classes. Just on that, there's some honorable mentions. So I've just gone Leon Maynard. Really, really tough fighter, really awesome fighter. I really enjoyed watching him fight. Soulja Boy I've also got. And then I've also gone for Trevor Prangley just because he did get to test himself overseas. Record not the best, but still, I mean, seasoned.
I think he was a Bodog champ as well. At one stage he fought in an event called Bodog. He was a Bodog middleweight champ.
Yeah.
When he fought Rico, he wasn't a heavyweight. When he weighed in like 90 odd kgs and he still took the fight.
Okay.
So yeah, fighting Rico, and Rico was a physical specimen, man. Rico was in shape when he fought Trevor. Took a lot of punishment and just came through and ground out the win. It was an unbelievable fight. I think somewhere I've got that on DVD. I must bring it to you.
Yeah, please do.
That was a fucking great fight.
Yeah.
That was a great fight.
Yeah. Hey guys, if you enjoyed that clip, I've got another one for you over here and over here. Please don't forget to subscribe over here and have a look at my other socials down in the description box below. Thanks for watching.